What is the most influential piece of technology in music history? Some may say the electric guitar, even the electric keyboard, or maybe even a synthesizer. But what if I told you it was a drum machine? The TR-808, in fact. The Roland TR-808, released in 1980, didn't just make beats, it created a sound of music itself. Hip-hop, dance, and pop never would sound the same again. So what was it about this interesting box of electronic sounds that had such an impact? Today, we're breaking down the mystery behind the TR-808 and how it became the heartbeat of modern music. Let's rewind to the late 70s in Osaka, Japan. The Roland Corporation, led by visionary engineer Ikutaro Kakahashi, was on a mission to create accessible instruments for musicians. While most drum machines at the time were designed to mimic real drums, Kakahashi wanted something different. He envisioned a machine that offered its own unique sound, something that would inspire creativity rather than replicate reality. And so, the TR-808 Rhythm Composer was born. What made the TR-808 so distinct was its entirely analog design. Unlike digital drum machines, which use samples, the 808's sounds were generated by an analog synthesis. Electronic circuits created tones from scratch. It had a unique collection of voices, each with its own character. The bass drum, the snare, the hi-hats, the cowbell, all created by voltage-controlled oscillators and filters that gave the 808 its unmistakable flavor. The bass drum, for example, was particularly unique. Instead of sounding like a traditional kick drum, it produced a deep, resonant thump that could almost be felt as much as it was heard. It had an almost sub-bass quality, which filled out the lower end of a track in ways that were completely new at the time. This sound, though artificial, was so powerful that it became a defining element in hip-hop and dance music. The layout of the 808 was also designed to be incredibly user-friendly. It had a built-in 16-step sequencer, allowing users to program beats simply by pressing buttons in a sequence. You could select a sound, like a snare or hi-hat, and assign it to specific beats in a pattern. For musicians who had never had access to a real drum kit, the 808 offered endless possibilities to experiment with rhythm in a way that felt hands-on and intuitive. And here's the thing, the 808 wasn't perfect. It had quirks, like subtle variations in tone that made each beat sound slightly different. But it was these imperfections that made it feel alive, adding character to each track. When the TR-808 was released in 1980, it wasn't exactly a hit. Most musicians wanted realistic drum sounds, and the 808's electronic tones didn't cut it. But Roland could only produce a limited run of around 12,000 units, because the specific semiconductors used to create the sounds were discontinued by the supplier. This scarcity might have ended the 808 story, except for one thing. The price dropped, making it affordable for underground musicians, especially in New York, where a new music scene was just beginning to form. One of the first groups to recognize the potential of the 808 was Africa Bambaataa and Soul Sonic Force, who used it to produce the groundbreaking 1982 Planet Rock. Suddenly, that deep bass and synthetic beat became a powerful foundation for hip-hop, giving a futuristic, otherworldly sound. Let's break down some of the TR-808's most iconic sounds. First, there's the bass drum, the boom that you feel rather than just hear. In clubs or on speakers with good bass, it hits you in the chest, filling out the entire space. Then there's a snare, a sharp, almost slap-like hit that contrasts perfectly with the bass. And let's not forget the hi-hats, tight and crisp, adding a fast ticking rhythm that drives the groove. And there's that cowbell. It's quirky, a little high-pitched, and instantly recognizable. Together, these elements created a sound that was exciting, new, and undeniably fresh. In hip-hop, the 808 wasn't just a tool, it became a voice. Artists like Run DMC, Public Enemy, and later Dr. Dre took the 808's raw power and used it to define an entire genre. The bass lines became heavier, the snare sharper. That synthetic beat carried the energy of the streets into clubs, radio stations, and eventually the mainstream. It became a sound associated with confidence, rebellion, a new kind of rhythm that was as much about feeling as it was about listening. Today, the TR-808 is more than just a drum machine, it's a piece of music history. Even though Roland discontinued it in 1983, it inspired entire genres, from trap to EDM. Modern producers now use samples in digital emulations of the 808 to capture that same bass-heavy, synthetic sound, paying homage to a machine that was ahead of its time. From Kanye West's 808s and Heartbreak to Travis Scott's Trap, the 808 has left an incredible mark on modern music. Its legacy lives on, not just in sounds, but in the way it opened doors to new ways of thinking about rhythm, culture, and creativity. The 808 taught us that sometimes it's the unexpected that changes the world. It was a commercial flop that became a cultural icon, a piece of gear that inspired generations of artists to think differently. So next time you hear that deep, booming bass, remember, you're listening to history, a sound that's more than just a beat. It's the heartbeat of modern music. Thank you for watching, guys. I'll try and bring more high quality content in the future. And yeah, if you have any ideas on any new videos or anything that I should, talk about, let me know. But yeah, see you on the next one. Peace.